Hello and welcome back to Mac at the Movies. This week I'll be reviewing for you the film Blue Moon. This was released October 17th, 2025 by Sony Pictures Classics and directed by one of my personal favorite directors, Richard Linklater, who had directed such films as Boyhood, the Before Trilogy, Bernie, School of Rock, The Newton Boys, Tape, Dazed and Confused, Last Flag Flying, among many, many more. One thing that stands out in this film that a number of his other films do is that this one stars Ethan Hawke. And Ethan portrays Lorenz Hart in this film, Larry Hart. We also have starring in this film the irreplaceable Elizabeth, played by Margaret Qualley. Andrew Scott, who portrays Richard Rogers, but by Larry, he's known by the shorter name Dick. Don't know if that's an insult, but I sort of come to the guess that it was an insult by Larry calling him that, because I don't think anyone else called him that in the film. Simon Delaney, who plays Oscar Hammerstein, and Bobby Cannavale, who plays Eddie the bartender. This film follows Larry Hart the opening night of Oklahoma, the musical by Rodgers and Hammerstein. Larry used to be part of the duo Rodgers and Hart, and Rodgers wanted to work on something else that just wasn't working with Larry. He found somebody else that had a better understanding, a better idea of where he was wanting to go with Oklahoma, and that's when he got together and started working with Rodgers and Hammerstein, that duo, the dynamic duo of Broadway, if you will. Larry's very talented, and while he's very talented, this film shows how he sort of wastes that talent on booze, constantly beating himself up for being a short-statured bald man with a comb-over, just constantly out of his luck. And one thing I thought was interesting about this film is how Ethan Hawke not only committed to the comb-over bald look, like I guess actually shaved his head, did all that, did the comb-over. It wasn't just like a cap or anything like that. He committed, I suppose, and he wore a contraption that allowed him to walk with a crouched knee to make him appear like a foot shorter than everyone else. The film takes place while jazz is sort of making its way out the door, and this new golden era of Broadway is sweeping in. And Larry Hart just doesn't have it in him to follow whatever it is that this new version of Broadway requires. Larry was very much ahead of his time, from what I've gathered of this film, but he was very bitter about a lot of stuff. Not just the fact that once Rodgers got together with Hammerstein, that their careers blew up astronomically. But it was just anything in his life. He was sort of very precise with the way he spoke, almost savant-like. He was very surgical with his choice of words. And it's because he romanticized a lot. While he was bitter about so much in life, he romanticized everything in life, and he tried to show that romanticism, if that's a word. But he tried to show that, and he did that with how he would choose to speak, how eloquently he would choose to speak, the very choice of his words. He spoke a lot about Elizabeth prior to her introduction in the film, about how in love with her he was, how she's the perfect woman, this, that, and the other. And a lot of people were like, "Come on, Larry, you're setting yourself up here." Or a number of folks asked him if he was gay. A lot of people at that. I mean, this was in the 30s, so there's more of a taboo topic. While it was, I believe, acceptable for a number of people publicly, it was taboo at the time. But Larry was just such a hopeless romantic that he would overly romanticize everything going on, and he would just sort of build himself up and then sort of mentally implode. That's when he would go off and stay to himself, end up drinking, sleeping during the day, which was one of the reasons Roger discussed why he decided to look for another partner at that time. And that's when he found Hammerstein. He didn't have to, while he wanted to work with Hart, at the time, he didn't have to deal with any of the frustrations that came along with working with him. Again, Hart romanticized a lot that he did, and he met Rogers as a protege. Rogers was a bit of a savant, and I guess at his age, 14, 16, somewhere around there. And Hart at the time was, I think, 24, if, that I remember correctly from the film. But there was this sort of like romanticized idea of their partnership in music and how he sort of helped build that. And that if it wasn't for him, he would have never been the success that he's now becoming. And he sees a lot of that everywhere in the world, that if it wasn't for him, this would fail or that would fail. And in some ways, that's true because many of his relationships are very one-sided. Everything is very conditional down to whatever idea of love he has. Everything's very much one-sided. I believe I wrote a note here that mentions that it's like a two-way street that leaves him stuck waiting, which also kind of leads me to another thing I wrote down, which I didn't intend for this, but one of the quotes that Ethan Hawke makes as Larry in this film, he's talking with Elizabeth, and he had bought her some sheet music as a gift and asked if she's listened to any of the music that he's given her. She said, "Oh, I've been really busy. I couldn't listen to it, but I have a friend that when I get back home, I'll have them play it right away." And Ethan, I immediately posted it online. I loved it. He said, "No, take your time. That's the wonderful thing about art, isn't it? It waits for you." And I think, like his idea of art, Larry's waiting for whatever it is, whether it's Rogers to come back to him to work on another project, as is discussed in this film, whether it's Elizabeth to finally come to the realization that Larry is the one true love for her, which just due to so many differences, it's clearly not. And this film sort of comes to this conclusion of a lot of that, due to a lot of Larry's, both his self-destructive nature and his over-romanticization, if that's a word. Just he over-romanticizes everything, that it sort of concludes in this rather heartbreaking discussion between Larry and Elizabeth. And I remember my friend Christy was telling me that she had seen this film. She wasn't the biggest fan of a lot of Linklater's work. She enjoyed some of it, like the Before trilogy, but a lot of his work she wasn't a fan of until this movie and this ending scene, this ending conversation about love and what it is to feel love and be loved, and not necessarily the love you want, but the love that you'll accept. And I feel like, man, it was a heartbreaking conversation between these two characters. And it was in that conversation that pushed me to rate this movie in the way I did. This is a great film, and I highly suggest anyone check it out. Yeah, it's sort of a slow burn, I think, for most people, but I would say take it. Take it and just enjoy it. Because by the end, you're going to want more. I know when I was watching it, it sort of led to further conversation in the film. The night continues in such a way that it kind of leaves you going, I really wish I could keep this going, just be a fly on the wall for their continued conversation. All in all, I have to give this film a solid 5 out of 5 stars. And what again solidified that for me was the conversation between Larry and Elizabeth in the end. Because, yeah, it was just, it's sort of just gut heart-wrenching. It's like you kind of see something and you want to shake the person and be like, why are you doing this? But then they explain why. And it sucks. It sucks. But, yeah, absolute amazing film. And I highly suggest you go out and see it. Find it any way you can. I got it at my local library. So if you have a local library, definitely check them out. I'm going to buy this movie when I find it. It's available here and there, but the prices keep on varying greatly, and I'm just going to wait for it to kind of even out. I almost feel like this is a film that the Criterion Collection would eventually release due to the subject matter, and they've released a number of Linklater's films in the past, so you never know. We may get this one on the Criterion Collection. But anywho, definitely, again, check it out. I'm going to go find another movie to watch that I will hopefully review for y'all in the future. But until now, I'm going to get out of here, and I'll see y'all later. Thanks for stopping by.